Okay guys, I've been asked to tie a curly bum type fly, be in English. Now, Jim Twaddle's been telling us all that the curly bums have started hatching at the loch, so it's a good opportunity to get in about them because the fish go mental for these things. Now this one is a black one, and you can see the same simple design throughout is going to occur. So we've got the body, got wings, got a thorax and a hackle at the front. So that's the kind of black. This one I've done in grey, but I've ribbed it with a bit of fluorescent floss, a bit of Glow Bright floss, number 8. Sometimes a wee bit of fluorescence works well in the evening. There's a badger hackle on the front of this one. Also this one here, more kind of in doing with the colour of the curly bums at the loch, a kind of ginger colour. Okay, that's done with pheasant tail. Now you can use anything. You get different feather fibres that you can use. This is cock hackle melanistic, so it's got that bluey black colour. You could use, this is goose, grey lag goose. This is duck dyed black. And these are olive. All the things here, they're all just feather fibre, herald. So this is pheasant tail, natural pheasant tail. So I'm going to do it in one of these hooks here. So these hooks are Vineyard Osprey hooks. They're a grub hook, barbless, big long point. Okay, this is quite a heavy hook. You could use a Kamasan B110, or if you want to go lighter, a Kamasan B100, any kind of grub type hook. Thread, just a brown thread, doesn't really matter. Okay, so starting near the eye, going to wind your thread down, touching turns until you get in line with the point of the hook. Then tie in a rib. This is just soft wire, gold. So wee piece of that. Tie that on the top, and then touching turns with your thread all the way to the back. Now you can cut off your waste thread there, and just keep the thread turns nice and tight all the way down to the bottom. Now this style I'm showing you is using the feather herald for the body. You could use anything you want it. You could use seal's fur, you could use the thread itself, you could use floss, you could use flexi floss, doesn't matter. Create a body, a segmented body is the trick here. Okay, you want something that's segmented. Now I'm going to use natural pheasant tail. So I'm looking for about 6 or 8 fibres. Pull them 90 degrees to the hook, that lines up the tips, and either cut or pull them off the quill. Okay, so hold the butt ends, grab the tips, put a loose turn of thread around the tips like that, and then slowly pull the fibres until you get it right to the tips, and then tighten up and take your thread back up to the point where it's hanging and just about in line with the tip of the hook. Okay. Now I've wound that clockwise. The herald we're going to wind anti-clockwise. So whatever way you wind your thread, wind your herald in the opposite direction. Because what we're going to do is we're going to bring the rib up the opposite way, counter winding it. So what we'll do is the wire will protect the pheasant tail, because the pheasant tail is quite delicate. It'll snap, the fish will chew it to bits. So take that up to where you've left your thread hanging, and just get that wee tighten. Take that up to where you've left the thread hanging, put a couple of turns in, sure it's nice and tight, and then cut that away. That's your waste away. Now, again, take your wire the opposite way. So what that does is it will protect the herald to some point, and it will also let the wire show through. If you wound it the same direction as the herald, it just falls into the turns and disappears. So you want to create this segmented body. And again, tie that in, couple of turns. and then wiggle your wire so that it breaks. You just put metal stress on it and stressing it and it'll just snap. Saves your scissors. Now, you could, if you wanted a bit of colour, you could put a bit of tinsel. Now that's Opal Mirage in large to create that wee colour. Or what I'm going to do is just do the same as I did with this one and just use the pheasant tail again to create the thorax cover. So again, 6 to 8 fibres, get them on line, pull them off, cut them off, whatever. Trim off the rubbish and tie that on top. Okay, so just tie that in nice and tight, tidy up the butt ends that you don't need. Okay, make sure that that's tied in line with the point of the hook, roughly in line with the point of the hook. That gives you a good thorax length to work with. Now the wings, you see the wee wings on this? These are hackle points. Now they come off a wee cheap Indian cape, just a wee cheap cape, they cost a lot of money, and you're looking for the wee hackles down the bottom here that you probably wouldn't use for anything else. So find two that are sitting together so they're going to be the same size. Just get two. Now these are a kind of off cream. Now you could use a grey, you could use a pure white, whatever. So you want two of them like that, and you're just going to slide them past the hook. Now I would keep them just about at the length of the body, nothing much more than that. So take your two fingers and just trap them on the side, throw a couple of turns on, see where they're sitting, have a look. Right, this one needs to come down a wee bit, so I'm just going to pull it down, and you're creating a V with these feather fibres so that they're spread out. You can see it there, creating that kind of V effect. Okay, so when you've got that, just tie them down, cut away the waste, tidy that up. Now, seal's fur at the top here, you could use seal's fur, you could use life cycle dubbing, you could use whatever you like. I think I used this one, no, this one, Frankie McPhillips dubbing. I used the cow dung, which I think is quite close, gives you a good colour towards the pheasant tail. You could use something darker, use something lighter, doesn't really matter. So if you wanted, you could put a wee bit of light bright in, so, or you could use some of these that have got some light bright in them. This is SLF Whitlock dubbing, they come in different colours, so maybe using this kind of stuff up here. Okay, in fact I'm just going to use that, quite like that. So this one's called Fox Squirrel, and what it is a mixture of SLF, you can see it glinting, and SLF, sorry, and a bit of some kind of crystal flash or something with a wee bit of glint. You don't really want to overdo it, you don't want it too bright, but you just want a wee dubbing rope, nice and thin, stretch it out, create a wee bit of a rope, try and keep it as lump free as possible, and then what you're going to do is just form a wee thorax there by winding that on the spot, leaving room at the eye, because remember you've got a hackle to put on there, so not too much, that's enough. Take the excess off, there now, okay. I'm going to throw a wee hitch on there just to hold that in case it falls off at the eye. Now for the front hackle, you could use something like a Greenwells, you kind of Greenwells type thing, furnace type thing, or a plain ginger, whatever you want. You could probably even get away with a Cree hackle, something like that, but nothing fancy, it doesn't matter. So find yourself a nice wee soft hen hackle, size you want. Take your hackle, pull all this fluff off the bottom, you don't want that. Okay, take that away at the bottom, and then at the top, grip the tip and pull the fibres forward. So you're creating a wee bit here, that's the bit you're going to tie in. Okay, so take your feather, tie your tip in, The tip's the delicate part, so a couple of turns to hold and then fold it back in itself and tie it in, and that helps to protect the tip, because if you just do it with one way it'll snap. Now you can be able to snap that tip out without cutting it. It keeps the hackle in there. Then take your hackle pliers, if I can find them, take your hackle pliers and wind still your hackle. Now you can fold these hackles back as you go, and depending on how much hackle you want, you could put a lot of hackle in this, or you could put a single turn. If you want it to stay right up on the surface, maybe you want 2 or 3 turns of hackle, whatever. Okay, so comb the fibres back and get your thread, tie that in. Now don't worry if there's bits sticking forward, we're going to tidy that up in a minute. Cut off the excess stem, and anything that's here that you don't like the look of, just pull it back, use your fingers to pull it back, tie it down. The end that's sticking, you're not going to catch, just trim it off. Just take a minute with your scissors, tidy it up. Now, what we're going to do now is we're going to split this like a centre shed. So you're going to pull the fibres down either side, because you're going to bring this thorax cover through. You don't want it trapping the fibres, okay? So, a wee bit fiddly, but make sure the hackle fibres are down either side as much as possible, and then bring your thorax cover over, okay? And then turn to hold, a couple of turns to hold. Make sure that's nice, that's looking good. The wings are sprayed out. Cut off the waste. Again, just tidy up any wee bits you're not happy with. Spot of varnish in here, right on there, on the roots. Let it flood in, because then when you build up the head, it's going to tie all that in, it's going to tidy that up. So you just build up a wee head, and then to finish off, get your whip finish tool. Start again with that, whip finish tool, 2 or 3 turns, slide that in, tighten the thread, cut that off. So what you've got there is your 2 wings either side of the body, your thorax cover, your 2 wings coming down the sides, thorax cover, you get a bit of hackle for a bit of movement, and your body colour. So that's that's like a emerging pheasant tail, but that's a good copy for the curly bum. Okay, so this is tied on a size 10. I would probably tie it smaller because they're quite big, but most of the ones in our lock are probably nearer a 12. I've tied it in a 10 so you can see it. Okay guys, so again, back to the start. You have your body, which can be any type of herald. So you're looking at dyed pheasant tail, ordinary pheasant tail. You can use goose feather, you could use duck feather, whatever. You're going to put a rib through it. The rib could be wire, or it could be a floss, depending on what you fancy, or a thread. This is just an orange thread, which looks quite good on the black version. Thorax cover can be the natural materials or a bit of tinsel. Your 2 hackles either side, hackle points, just come for a cheap cock cape, white, grey, something like that. Then your hackle at the front, again, just a wee Chinese hen cape, nothing fancy, and a bit of dubbing underneath to create the thorax. It could be seal's fur, it could be anything like that, SLF, whatever you fancy. Okay, so you can mess about with that, change the colours of the body, change the ribs, change the leave the wings pretty much the same, change the hackles, on you go. Okay guys, hope that helps you. Tie a few up, see how you get on with them.